have to talk about Allie. I mean, what? Tell me about his mind. I don't want to say crazy because that might be insulting, but
No,
Is
it's
he?
we don't know yet. I mean, that's listen. That's the main reason I wanted to do this so badly because
Hmm.
I love that character. He's by turns both charming at times and infuriating.
Right.
Because there's just times where you love him, and there's times where he's very frustrating. Add to that, he's just got a kind of an incredible mind. He's so forward leaning. He's so um, intelligent, sharp, all those things. But at the end of the day, his ideology is he's so lashed to it, that it's you start to realize like, oh, he might be, you know, the wheels might be coming off.
is he complete narcissist?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I don't know what he is. I wouldn't know how to diagnose him. In a weird way, he's an optimist, or I don't know. He has trouble seeing other people's point of view, which I guess is a narcissistic trait.
Right.
But I do think he has empathy for people, enormous empathy, which is not a
Mm.
narcissistic trait. I don't know. I think, he's too smart by half for his own good.
Right.
Is he a good parent?
Up for debate. I mean, these are all things that I think, honestly, are hopefully, if we've done our job correctly, are questions that the audience will answer. Because Allie thinks he's a good parent. He thinks he's not only a good parent, he's probably the best parent. And arguably, there's times throughout our series where he is a good parent. But there's definitely times where you wonder whether this ideology that he's trying to instill in his children is really just to see himself reflected back at himself, or whether it's what his family wants, or whether it's actually what he wants.
So let's take us back to even beginning this project. Obviously, it's based on a novel written by your uncle. Have you been like putting that in your uncle's ear for years, going, "Come on, one day, let's do it"?
No, he had his shot when they did the Harrison Ford movie, and I was 2 years
Right.
old, and I was ready. Um, it's honestly, I wish I had a better story behind it. It's a pretty pedestrian way of coming to it, which is Paul had already set this up with Fremantle and Apple, and they were going down the normal road of mounting this and casting it. And that's when it popped up on my radar. If anything, I should be angry at Paul for not calling me first. Um, and then I sort of just raised my hand, slightly higher than the rest, I guess. But I knew the character well, because it had always sort of been in the periphery of my childhood and throughout my entire life. Um, and I thought that's a character I'd really like to play. So I met with Neil Cross, read the scripts, we totally hit it off, and then I got the job. And so I had the joy of calling up Paul and going like, "Guess what? I'm going to be doing the Mosquito Coast, playing out." And he was thrilled. I mean, beyond thrilled. Very excited by it.
Was there any hesitation, like mixing family and business? Maybe that next Thanksgiving may not go over well if he doesn't like it.
No, no. I think, if anything, it was the opposite. It was kind of a great comfort, in that, knowing that, because I was so familiar with it, I felt like I came in sort of slightly ahead of the game. I'd already skipped a couple grades as far as creating the character. And then, of course, he's now seen it and adores it. So, and I don't think he's just being a proud uncle. I think he really genuinely does love it.
Harrison Ford, did you call him, say, hey, there's this role I'm thinking of doing. Would you mind?
No, I mean, look, characters are like, they do it in plays all the time. No one calls someone and says, "Hey, I know you did Hamlet. Do you mind if I?" But I will say, it does cross one's mind to kind of see if they can offer any shortcuts. But I would never have called him. However, we did have a really coincidental, again, I was in Mexico City, and he happened to come through for work, and stay at the same hotel as me. And we had a mutual friend in common. He said, you're both in Mexico City. You should get together and have a bite. So I said, well, by all means, please. And so we had this wonderful, long sort of lugubrious tequila-filled night over Mexican food. And it was just fabulous. And we did talk about Mosquito Coast, but it wasn't central. He's a much more fascinating man than the guy who just played that part. So we talked about a wide range of things. But,
so you told him you want to play Han Solo.
Exactly. Exactly.
Were you in
Henry and Witness? Exactly.
Were you in Mexico City shooting Mosquito Coast?
Yeah, I was there actively doing it. So it was, I mean, obviously intimidating because I didn't know him. So I didn't know if he was going to be like, oh, you're the guy playing the part that I crushed, like you did such a fabulous job, but obviously, and I wasn't trying to crib from him or, it was actually hard to kind of forget his performance and put it to the side.
How long ago did you shoot it? Because what I find fascinating is it just speaks to where we are in this moment in time with the pandemic, with, talking about big corporations and, pharma and capitalism. It just, Allie really is saying a lot that's being said right at this moment.
Yeah, he's one of those characters. I sort of think of him as almost like an uber American, but in the vein of like Hemingway or Jack Kerouac or, Jack London or, like he's just one of those go west young men kind of guys, that he's a real sort of frontiersman in a way, but he's also an incredibly sharp wit and intellect and has an abundance of opinions. And I think he speaks to what a lot of us feel, or he voices things that a lot of us instinctually think anyway. And I don't think it's political. I don't think it's particularly related to any party. I think he's genuinely disenchanted with our country, which is a very American trait. I think virtually every American could complain about something in our country. I think that's universal. But the things that he targets are somewhat altruistic sometimes and sometimes insane,
Season 2.
Who knows?
There has to be.
I mean, from your lips to Apple's ears, we'll see. But, as you know, that's a black box I don't get to look into.
I know, but
I can.
I'm telling everyone I want a season 2 because I can't say what happens at the end, but I want to see more.
Yeah.
Because it could go in so many different places.
I know. And listen. Well, I can tell you we have plans for where it goes, but we have to be given the green light to do that.
And of course, why a series? Why not make a remake of the movie? Why 7 episodes?
I think, it's been kind of proven that shot-for-shot remakes don't really make much sense. I've never seen one that I particularly love where has been an improvement on the original. So I think in order, and that movie and the book was essentially a period piece at this point. I don't think we wanted to do a period piece or add that to our plate of things we had to execute. And I think Neil correctly, understanding that we, in a perfect world, would have anywhere from 30 to 40 to 50, 100 hours of television to fill, had to make certain specific changes. The most obvious of which is not a spoiler necessarily, is this fire on their backs that that forces them to leave the United States, which is not a part of the book. And in order to explore the characters more and go deeper and richer than perhaps the movie could, we updated. The mother character, for example, in the book and the movie never even had a name; it was just called Mother.
Right.
And one of the things we were determined to do is, give her a purpose for existing. So not only that, but also give her some real agency.
So let's talk about your binging. What do you binge? What have you binged? What have you been so-called addicted to?
I've been binging anything that's true crime. I've been really into sort of docuseries, and now they all just kind of blur together. But that was the thing that I really treated myself to in the pandemic, and then sort of Jones for finished them. Just started that QAnon one on HBO. The one sort of scripted thing that I did binge, which I think is maybe one of the most brilliant pieces of television that I've seen in a long time, is Pen 15, that coming of age comedy.
It's so
which
good.
is just so freaking good. And I don't know why I relate to it so hard. I'm not a preteen girl or anything like that, but there's something so achingly funny and beautiful about that show that I just can't. I actually saw one of the actresses on the street the other day, and I did one of those. I wasn't being creepy or anything, but I mean, I could recognize her just through her mask, and she was like wearing like this. And I went like, and I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna say something. No, I'm not. I'm gonna say something. I am. And then I ended up not saying something, but I was like, it was the first time I'd felt starstruck in a while, so that was kind of fun.
And now take me back to your days starting in the business. Tell me about the most memorable audition you've ever had, or the worst one. I like worst auditions, but people usually frame it in memorable.
Memorable worst. I mean, I remember. Oh my God. I've had so many horrible auditions. I mean, ones where, particularly before you've ever even worked kind of auditions, those are the worst ones because like, who are you? I don't know. Okay. There's no point of reference for you. One of the worst ones I had was for Thin Red Line, the Terrence Malick war movie. And I remember thinking like, oh, I obviously love Terrence Malick, going like, oh my God. And then it was the classic, like, and there's no script, by the way. And then I was like, oh, okay. So then what's the audition? They're like, well, they'll tell you when you get there. Or assumingly they would give you something that, like whatever. And, usually when you go to audition, or at least when I go to an audition now, I meet with the director or and casting director and blah, blah, blah. There's people in the room. But when you're starting out in a career, you kind of get like the casting director's assistant maybe will see you. And there was this woman who was casting it, and it was the classic, like I was waiting in a hall, it was in like a hotel or something. So I arrived there to do this audition, and there's no sides, no scene, no lines, no nothing. And I go into the room, and the casting director is like, okay. And there's like, it's like a room, like with like a couple chairs in it. She's like, okay, just like get behind a chair and pretend like you're in a foxhole or something, like smoking a cigarette. And just like, and I'm like, and they're filming it, and you're like, what? And they're like, just like, get behind the chair and pretend like you're in a battle. And you're like, what am I supposed to do? So, you sort of tipped over a chair, and I was like, you just want me to just like pretend like, and so there I am kind of going like, but I don't know what war we're fighting. I don't even know what the movie's. I know it's a war movie. That's all I know. And so I'm sitting there pretending to like pull pins out of a grenade and, charge and all that. And I'm like, what is the stupid, you know what I mean? It's like telling a painter to paint a house without giving them brushes, like just put paint around. I don't know. You don't need brushes. It's like, I need words to say. So that was a particular humiliation.
I have to tell you, most of the people I talk to when I ask this question, it comes down to one of the same type of audition where it's like, just do this. There's no props. There's nothing. And you're sitting in a room and you're like, you just have to.
Yeah, but it's like, we're not magicians. You know what I mean? Exactly. So, okay. So you want me to write, direct, and act this all on the spot without any information about who the person is, what I'm supposed to be doing. I mean, it was just like, I don't know. And I got the job. No, I didn't get the job. Of course I didn't get the fucking job. It's